no tengo lo que saciaría tu sed, no soy un dispenser, soy una mujer.
Catedral San Juan Bautista is the oldest non-Catholic church building in Latin America. The site, originally the cemetery of the convent of the Mercedarian friars, was donated by Juan Manuel de Rosas. Those friars were members of the Order of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mercy, whose members are required to take a vow to be willing to die if necessary for another who is in danger of losing their faith. I thought I was ready to have a cinematographer join me on these visits.
Filming from that.
Yeah. Or I could do something else. I could put it there.
But are you interested, like, in filming, like, I don't know, the thing there at the back or something else? Like,
Yeah. It could be interesting. My next visit would be to the largest organ in all of Argentina. Mercedes Castellanos de Anchorena, who commissioned the building of this church, was quoted saying, "If I live in a palace, God should have his own." Santissimo Sacramento is the building she proposed. She had married Nicolas Hugo Anchorena Arana, whose father Tomas was a signatory of the Declaration of Independence and was the inheritor of a fortune from his grandfather-in-law, Juan Francisco Garcia de Zuniga. Mercedes used their money to support various causes. The building was designed by the architects Coulomb and Chauvet and supervised by the superior brother of the Congregation of the Blessed Sacrament who chose the materials. The Cathedral of Angoulême was taken as inspiration for this building. The construction, which took 8 years, was supervised by Anchorena, who lived in the Anchorena Palace located about 150 meters from the church. The materials used include Carrara marble, garnet onyx from Morocco, and blue granite. The church contains the largest instrument in Argentina. Anchorena traveled to Paris to personally commission it from the House of Mutin. But first we go into the crypt.
but they lived here?
No.
Or it wasn't
It was a place she owned.
The process when I visit a church is to first feel out the space, try and get a feel for the acoustic a little bit, survey the interior and see how it affects me. Anchorena's remains lie in this crypt. I try to take my time installing the recording equipment so that this process can happen gradually. All of my senses are going to be affected by the space, and the passive activity of setup is the perfect way to let the atmosphere seep into my body without any filter. This crypt organ was moved here from the nearby church of Santa Felicitas in the Barracas neighborhood. It's a 1915 Merklin, also from France. This organ seemed to pull one idea after another out of me. Here I had an opening theme I'd polished up from a previous improvisation, but I was never able to create a middle for it, so I thought I would try playing it and see what happens. It might not be appropriate for a crypt, but the organ was versatile enough to be able to handle a piece that's this grandiose. I'm using other tricks for improvising which my teacher Janos suggested, including switching between the manuals often, using the pedal for accents and extrapolating melodies, not bass notes and drones, and using second inversion chords because they're inherently unstable and push the music forward. I also seem to be obeying his main law.
There are several methods how to teach improvisation, but I have chosen this method for myself too, and for myself to teach my students how to improvise. Because if you arrive to Pierre Pensmail, for example, in Paris, and you have the occasion to play for him, it is not important what do you play. It will be important, only one case, how you play.
Janos is referring to the French organist Pierre Pensmail. Back in 2017, when I was going to study organ in Hungary with Janos, I contacted Pensmail, considered one of the greatest improvisers of his generation, and asked if I could have a master class with him. His response was perfect. He did invite me to attend one of his group classes, which he was teaching in the oratory of the Louvre Museum in Paris. But days before, he canceled due to illness, and in about 40 days, he had already died. By the time I got upstairs to the largest instrument in Argentina, I had recorded on the Merklin for an hour and felt like I'd spent all my ideas. I felt tired and self-conscious and did not play anything useful at all. The Institute of the Brothers of the Christian Schools is the first entirely lay religious congregation, meaning none of its members have received holy orders of any sort, nor do they wish to receive them at any time, because they consider such orders alien to their vocation and identity. Here again we have an organ from the House of Mutin in Paris. For this improvisation, I actually played an expository theme and then produced variations on it, the kind of thing that Pierre Pensmail might do. As I stayed in Buenos Aires for several weeks, my obsession with the Nissan Saloon continued, and I got to see one up close. I wanted to ask the driver about their appeal,
I can film it.
but he just wanted to know if I'd like to buy it.
If you want to buy it.
I took a short trip out of town to nearby Mercedes. San Patricio Mercedes has one of the largest pipe organs in South America with 4,700 pipes and a carillon. It was built by Steinmeier of Ottingen and Nuremberg. The church was consecrated on March 17, 1932, the 1500th anniversary of the arrival of St. Patrick in Ireland. The Church of San Pedro González Telmo looks over the San Telmo neighborhood of Buenos Aires. It was originally built by the Jesuits in 1734, making it one of the oldest churches in Buenos Aires. The project was carried out by the Jesuit architect Andres Blanqui. In 1858, its dome was completed by the Italian builder José della Valle, and it was only in 1876, over 140 years after construction began, that the towers were erected and the church completed. This church contains a marble table that the Bethlehemian friars used to operate wounded during the English invasions. It also contains this pulpit, donated in 1805 by Manuel Belgrano, the creator of Argentina's flag. The church is decorated with works by Martiniano Arce, who is a celebrated practitioner of the filleted art style, which is associated with Buenos Aires and can be seen most notably on city buses. He's also a regular at the church. The organ was built in the house of Locatelli in Bergamo, a family of organ builders from Bergamo active from 1870 to 1917. Giacomo Sr. entered the Fratelli Cerasi factory as an apprentice in 1842 when he was 18, and soon distinguished himself for his abilities, so much so that by 1851, the Cerasis obtained his exemption from military service and entrusted him with the assembly of the organ of the Basilica of San Paolo in Rome when he was only 27. For this work, he was rewarded with a silver medal and 15 scudi. Years later, he broke off to start his own factory, and from 1870 to 1917, 211 organs came out of the Locatelli house, placed in Piedmont, Lombardy, Liguria, Veneto, Tuscany, Marche, Sicily, and South America, where of the original 33, about 20 still survive. I've been taught to play opposites. That when one is sad, it's a good idea to try to make a happy sound, and vice versa. But sometimes music can have an almost mystical ability to foreshadow the future, and clues and omens can often be found in old recordings, which seem like they can only have been put there by magic.